The microphone guy.
Thank you. First of all, I owe this lady I came here because of Trish. Stand up, Trish, just for a second. 4 or 5 years ago. And I sat in a Wednesday Night Live, and I watched all of you people. And all these great questions were coming out. And I just spoke up. And this lady said, I want him to speak. And that's how we connected. All because of you. All because of you. So thank you, thank you. And normally what I do when I come to speak, I always try to find one person that I can connect with. Right? One person that I can connect with. And tonight what I'm going to do is ask all of you to stand up, because what I want to do is connect with all of you tonight. That if it weren't for you, through all these adventures I've had the last several years, Thomas Raines is always my home to come back to, because you people are amazing because of this lady. Mm-hmm. Amazing because of this lady who always keeps me on schedule. And I have to say, where's Linda? There you are. My sister. I love you so much. And Roger, all of you guys have all been amazing to me. So I'm just going to go ahead and begin, but thank you so much for being here.
Thank you.
You are amazing people. All right. There's an old saying that says, pride goeth before destruction, and a haughty spirit before a fall. Proverbs 16. Now, listen to the words, pride and haughty spirit. That really says something to me, and it's the 16th proverb. In numerology, the number 16 is represented by the falling tower. The tarot deck represents it as the tower. Both images in a book, whatever you look up in numerology or in the tarot, you will see a tower being struck by lightning, and as they look above, the men look above, the debris falls onto them. Now, there are many meanings of the number 16-7 in numerology, and there are many meanings in the tarot. I could spend hours and hours talking about this one number, this one card in the tarot deck. And it's interesting enough that the 16-7 of the tarot card, the falling tower card in the tarot deck, is one of the few cards that is removed by many intuitives. Kind of like our Joker card that is removed. They feel that there's all this superstition around the number 16. I disagree. Because you see, you've heard me say before, where there is conflict, there's always a miracle. There's always a miracle. And that's what I look for. So the number 16-7 basically represents the twofold, the two possibilities, the flip side of the coin, faith or fear, greed or gratitude. Got it? You know, whether it's greed or gratitude, there's always another side of the coin. So when there's greed, there should be gratitude, especially if you're dealing with poverty consciousness. One of the things I like to take a look at with the number 16-7 is, as I said, I look at the twofold. What does it really mean? Well, as I said, I could go on and on and on. But what I decided to do tonight, rather than going into this superstitious card, and I will kind of incorporate throughout this lecture tonight, I decided to give a recap of all the lectures that I have shared with you the last 4 or 5 years, and I call this 12 Steps of Spiritual Transformation. I've taken tidbits of all the lectures that I've given these last many years, and I'm going to introduce them and incorporate them with the number 16-7. Got it? So, number 1, be a leader. Become a leader. What does that mean to any of you here? Anyone here run a company? Yes? That's all.
Take charge.
Take charge.
Start out first.
Thank you. Your hand up there in the red. What does that mean to you? Did you have your hand up?
Move forward even if other people are not moving forward.
Okay.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very good.
Anyone else? Yes.
Set an example.
Bingo! Bingo. Set an example. You know, it's a given. It is a given that we look at our leaders today. It should be about good ethics, good work ethics. And we're seeing a lack of that. going on here is there's a, I don't like to use the word failure, but that's the word that'll come to mind right now. So what it's saying to me is that it's up to you and I in this room to become the leaders. Last week was an interesting week for me because it began with, I was involved with Karl Lagerfeld, the designer, was being honored in Texas this past year, that received the Coco Chanel Award. And I was in the beginning of that, getting celebrities involved and dealing with publicists and PR and agents and producers. And my week ended with Tony Robbins. Now, let me clarify here. I was asked to go and have breakfast at the Marriott in Palm Desert, the JW Marriott. Have any of you been there?
Yes.
Is that not an amazing hotel? It's like this huge, enormous, glamorous ball. And I had breakfast there, and I was actually doing a reading for a client before they all gathered in the room with Tony Robbins. And one of my clients, CEO, many companies all around the United States and overseas, wanted an update. So I said, well, okay, I'll come to the hotel and I'll meet you there. And I had a little gathering of other CEOs who were there listening as we were going back and forth in her chart. And one thing she said to me caught my interest. It caught my interest. She said, I've had a year of betrayal. And this kind of went, because I understood exactly what she meant. And I said, well, tell me what's going on with this thing called betrayal that's happening within your company. Well, all the employees have gone off, and they've gone off in different directions, they're leaving me. And all my companies seem to be failing. And all these other CEOs gathered around the table. And they said, well, that's happening to me. I can't even begin to tell you how many CEOs were saying the same thing. Over and over, all these CEOs, these people who paid $9,000 to go listen to Tony Robbins speak on that Friday, were talking about the failures of their company. And one of the CEOs, I don't tell you who it is, but someone big, said, well, they don't like the way I speak to them, and they say I criticize them, and he went on. And then they also, well, yes, they don't like the way I'm talking, and then, the employees are back in the ground listening to me go on with this, numerology reading. And one of them spoke up and said, what's how you make us feel? It's how you make us feel. And so I listened to all this, and I said to one of the CEOs, I said, well, did it ever occur to any of you that maybe saying that you're sorry for some of the behavior that's gone on, that you are in charge of the company, maybe it's up to you to kind of take the leadership role and just say, I'm sorry, what can I do to make this a better company? And what happens, we have the back and forth, the back and forth. So they all kind of looked at me, but one person in the very back room raised his hand, and mind you, this is Tony Robbins' event. I'm not there to overshadow Tony Robbins' event, but this one man raised his hand and he said to me, I agree. I have a small company. I've been in operation for 10 years. And when I hire employees, I make sure that I have a good employee, and I empower them. I allow them to be and to say what they want. And I only step in if there's a problem that needs to be addressed. And it's usually with the customer. And 9 times out of 10, it's not my employee as much as it is the customer. So I thought that was great. That's leadership. And I watched all these other people in their companies talking about how much money they were losing, and not one of them could even say how much they appreciated their employees. To me, that one man that spoke up, that's good leadership. Number 2, curiosity. Why do you think I use the word curiosity in terms of spiritual transformation? Give that some thought. Curiosity. What does that mean to you when you hear the word curiosity? Being curious. Anything?
Something unknown.
Oh, yes? Seeking. Fearlessness. Absolutely. Seeking. It is up to you and I to be curious about people, to want to know them, to get to know them, to listen to them. They have something to say. So I say to all of you, become curious in your neighborhood. There's no such thing as a stranger. That is one of the things I treasure about my life these days. I go out in the community, no matter where I am, there's always someone there that I can have a conversation with. I'm always curious about what they do for a living. I'm always curious about their spiritual backgrounds. So make that a part of a new year for you in the coming year. Number 3, use your intuition. Why? Anyone? Use your intuition.
Get my higher source.
Bingo. Absolutely. Listen to your higher source. When you're at peace, when you're in a place of inner centeredness, you'll find that that inner voice will speak to you and guide you and get you to the places that you need to be. Years and years and years ago, and you've heard me share the story 1,000 times, and I'll say it again because I really am proud of this in my heart. I was told when I set out to become a special effects makeup artist, that was my goal. And CBS came along and offered me a position. And all my friends said, don't take this. Don't do this. And I thought, the voice spoke to me and said, do it. I did. Launched my career. Years and years ago, when I went on to become very successful with CBS, I also led an audition, a pilot for a television series, a reality show called Sightings. And everyone, agents, don't do this. This will destroy your career. You're coming from CBS in the news division and you're going to reality television. This will destroy your career. Don't do this. I listened to my inner voice and it launched my career in part 2. When I began to write my book, and you've heard me share this story with you yet again, 38 times from lit agents and publicists and PR and publishers, I was offered in advance to write a story about Nancy Reagan, Diane Sawyer, Leslie Stahl, Linda Gray, Lisa Gibbons, all these stars I had a chance to work with throughout my many years, Shirley MacLaine. The working title at that time was Behind the Smile of Hollywood. Ding! And I said, no. I listened to my inner voice. Because one of my celebrities said, if you write that book, it better be a damn good book. Because if it doesn't sell, you've destroyed everything you have built up in Hollywood. Great, great advice. So listen to your inner voice. Number 4. I love this one. The 4th and 8th step. Anyone here in AA? Stand up. And thank you for acknowledging that. What is the 4th step?
I have no idea. I'm a newbie.
You're a newbie?
Yeah.
Okay. The 4th step in AA means take an inventory. Make amends to those people that you have offended. That's the 4th step. Got it? The 8th step is to make amends to those people that you've offended, and you call that person and you make amends to them on the telephone or you go in person. It's an amazing step. It is one of the most difficult steps to understand in AA because, you have to make amends for let's say, the things that have happened in your life due to the disease of alcoholism or drug addiction. And what happens when you do that? You set yourself free. You clean the slate. Years ago, I decided to take that 4th step. I'm not in AA, but I went to all the open meetings because when I was writing my book, I listened to all these stories of recovery. And I listened to these people whose lives resurrected. Some of these people were in the gutter. And I was fascinated by the 12 steps. And I noticed so many people kept getting up and were challenged by the 4th step and challenged by the 8th step. And I thought, this is great. If you're born and raised Catholic, you go to confession every Sunday, and what do? Bless me, Father, for I have sinned, I committed, blah, 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 and you go on and on and on about what you did or should have done or could have done and didn't say, right? So it's kind of the same principle. And what I did, I set out to do my 4th and 8th step, and it was funny because I thought, I wanted to say, I didn't shine here, and I should not have said that. And you know what happened? I would run into all these people whose lives I touched and vice versa, and there was some agenda there. I remember I was at a grocery store, and there was just someone there that I just, had a hard time kind of, it was just time to go. And there was betrayal involved. And I walked right up to him, and I said, I am so sorry that our relationship turned the way that it did. and I asked for your forgiveness. And he broke down in my arms and cried and said, I ask for your forgiveness too. It was the best thing that happened for all of us. So take the time. If there's someone in your life that you owe an apology to, make that phone call. Send them a letter. It's not about what they did or what they said. You know, I tried to convey that message to some of these CEOs at this Tony Robbins event, and they all balked at it. And I go back to that. It costs you nothing to apologize. It costs you everything if you don't. Think about that. 5, and I kind of introduced this concept a while ago. There is no such thing as a stranger. Why do you think that?
Because we're all one.
Bingo. We're all one. Years and years ago, you know, most of you know that I do a solar return on my birthday. I had a clinical death on November the 11th, 1987, and I died at 11:11 p.m. on the operating room. And it took me a year of recovery, and I made a promise to God that once I came out of the womb of Parkland Hospital, that I would honor my new birthday from 11:11 until 11:29. And so what I did, I would go out, and I would meet and greet people, and I started applying these different principles to my life. And I did my solar return in Chichen Itza, in Mexico, the ancient ruins. And I was actually at Tulum, and I had told my friends, I said, you know, what would be really great is if we could get to Chichen Itza. And we were walking around the ruins, and I happened to run into someone, 2 people actually, that were on their way to Chichen Itza. And I said, you know, I would love to go with you. I'd love to invite myself. And he said, sure, come along. However, we have to be back by 6 o'clock because we're picking some people up at the airport in Cancun. All right, no problem. 3 hours we were in that car. And we finally arrived to Chichen Itza, about 1:15 in the afternoon, and there were lines of people there, everywhere. And as we got in, once again, they kind of reinforced the idea that we need to be out here by 3 o'clock, because now it's at 3 o'clock, and if we could get out there sooner than that, he would really appreciate it. So we all kind of went our separate ways and said, well, I'm going to climb the Great Big Pyramid. That's what I'm here to do. At 2:17 in the afternoon, I want to offer myself to God to be used for an instrument for the next coming year. Well, there were all these people standing in line to go up to the tall pyramid, right? And I went to the tour guide, and I just kind of sat back in the background, and I listened to them talk about, you know, the ancient pyramid. And what I heard was that it was going to take 45 minutes to hike up this pyramid and 45 minutes to get back. And I thought, 45, okay, so that's obviously going to interfere with the rest of my tour of these wonderful sacred grounds. And I looked and I saw these people, old, young, in shape, out of shape, schlepping up this pyramid. Breath, gasp, gasp, And I thought to myself, there's just got to be a way to get up this pyramid. And I looked up, and there was this little boy, 8 years old, in a yellow t-shirt, and he was zooming up the pyramid and zooming down the pyramid. So I went up to him, and I said, excuse me. I said, but you have to tell me how you're doing this. And I was like, well, he just started speaking Spanish to me over Latin, and I was like, no hablo español, paquito, paquito, paquito. And he just, blah, blah, blah. So what I decided to do, I decided to universally communicate with this young boy. And I said, he got it. He grabbed my hand, and we went up the side of that pyramid, all the way to the top. I was amazed just to look down. And I remember when I got to the top, I waved and yelled at my friends, hi, I'm way up here. And they all looked at me. And this little boy took me by the hand, and have any of you been to Chichen Itza?
Yes.
Have you been inside?
Yes.
Do you know where they keep the crown jewels, right? This little boy took me inside. And at 2:17 in the afternoon, that door opened up, and there were the jewels. And I remember I prayed, and I said, you know, may I be an instrument this next coming year? And what I do at my solar return is I offer myself as an instrument to be used for the entire year, and I do my gratitude list of what has happened to me this last year that has brought me to this point. And that little boy took me down the side of the pyramid and took me all around the grounds. There is no such thing as a stranger. You never know that that person in the background may be the leading character that leads you to the top of the mountain. Number 6, build it and they will come. Community. Here's a good example. In Palm Springs. Build it and they will come. We don't care about the distance. We don't care about the politics. We don't care about any of that. If it is in your heart to make something of this planet, and it comes to the one main ingredient about love and peace and harmony and doing your work on the planet, it will come to you, will it not? I've had this happen to me throughout my entire career. Build it and they will come. Dr. Sharon knows that I'm doing a reality show. We're pitching it for pilot season. It's called PSP, Paranormal Supernatural Phenomena. And we're still in the making stages of this. But you know what? I did nothing. They came to me. Every person in my life this past year, from Sony to Viacom, have all come to my doors for readings. I've not schlepped in Hollywood doing the meets and greets. They've all come to my door. Go to your heart. What are you here to do? What is your authentic purpose? And it'll show up. It'll show up. It'll show up. 7, have a connection to God, however you perceive God to be. However you perceive God to be. You know, this last year, I've had the chance to meet so many wonderful ministers, and they all have, you know, their things of how their churches operate. And sometimes they want to edit me. Sometimes they don't want me to talk about certain things like politics. You've heard me talk about this before. And I say to all, human rights, Christ consciousness is Christ consciousness. The teachings of Christ are the teachings of Christ. So I'm here to talk about the teachings of Christ, the Christ consciousness. So, you know, we are representatives of the Christ consciousness. Every Wednesday, you get one little ingredient that you can take home with you, and then you can apply to your lives. So whatever you perceive God to be at this point in time in your life, and believe you me, I've seen a lot of interpretations of God this last year in terms of the book lectures. We all have our interpretations. You know, there are many pathways up the mountain, as Dr. Sharon speaks about. But once you're there, amazing. Number 8, gratitude equals abundance. Gratitude equals abundance. You know, when I was working on this reality show, as things work out, they have their agendas. I know what I want to do because I've turned down 4 reality shows this past year. 4. And I said, I'm not doing another show unless there's integrity, unless it has a lot to do with spirituality, and beyond the extraordinary, beyond the ordinary. And they're listening to me. So they wanted to know, what do you do on a daily basis that makes you unique and makes you different? I said, I start my day with the gratitude walk. And every morning, I take my gratitude walk and I go to Ruth Hardy Park, and I thank God, the universe, for everything that's happened to me the day before. And they were just amazed. So I was, sharing with this director that I was working with what I was grateful for from the day before. They were amazed that I took the time to do it. I said I do it twice a day. And you know what? I'm such a firm believer that for those of you who are in the throes of money concerns, that gratitude, go to a place of what you're thankful for. Go to your window if you can't go out to a park. Share it with your friends. I'm so grateful for you. I'm so grateful for your words. I'm so grateful for the lessons. That energetically changes everything in your life. 9, compassion. Take the time to help. Take the time to help. 2 Christmases ago, I got up very early, just during the Christmas holidays, and I thought, I've got to go buy some stamps. So I put my baseball hat on, I put my sweats on, I put my jersey on, and I ran up to the post office. And I think this is around 9-ish o'clock, and I thought, there'll be nobody here. No. As I circled the parking lot trying to find a place to park, and I finally got in, and then I got in, and there was this line of all these unhappy faces. And I inched my way up, and as I was inching my way up, there wasn't much conversation. I watched the attendants there, and they were just, you know, kind of frenzied, kind of overworked. This is Christmas, and lots of things go on behind the scenes that I'm not familiar with. But I could hear someone banging on the stamp machine, bang, bang, bang. And I looked back, and I inched up again. And all of a sudden, this young boy, could have been 18 years old, went from person to person to person, and he was speaking in a language I knew nothing of. I didn't understand what he was saying. And they're all, no, 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 no. And he got to me, and I had brushed my teeth. I didn't have one sock on. I mean, I was just kind of disheveled. And he spoke to me, and he said, in his way of English, he said that he put his $20 in. He only wanted one stamp. And he wanted his money back. Something very simple. I said, well, okay, well then you just come with me and we'll take care of this. 18 years old. He was just this innocent looking little boy. So we inched up and we finally got to the attendant, and I began to explain the story. You know, this young man here puts his money in the stamp machine, he got all these stamps back, and really only needs this one stamp, so is there any way that, you know, we can refund his money? He said, absolutely not. There's clearly a sign that states that this machine is out of order and it's broken. I said, well, yes, I understand that. And I said, but, you know, understand that he obviously is not from this country, and, you know, he doesn't understand that, so surely we can help him. No, no, no. You know, and I said, so I said, okay, you know, well, surely, well, rather than no, let's find solutions. Let's find solutions here. How can we make this work? And he said, we're not going to make it work. The sign says it's out of order. He shouldn't have put his money in there, and that's just it. And he started talking loud, and I'm like, okay. Now, the Guido in me is, my heart is going boom, 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 boom. So he said, if you got a problem with that, you need to talk to my supervisor.
Thank you.
Okay.
So I said, okay. So, sorry, I have a straight face here. So I said, okay, fine. No problem. So I see him go down, and I see him talking behind the door to someone. Now I should have realized when this giant, massive shadow went all around the floor, I should have realized that what was coming out that door was rather massive. So as I went to the postal attendant, he said, he'll be out in just a minute. Go over there and just wait. So this young boy and I went over there, and we sat and waited. And out came this man. I swear he must have been 7'2". I have no idea how tall he was. But I remember the young boy and I just kept looking and looking and looking and looking and looking up at this man who came out. And he said, what seems to be the problem? Now, I don't know which was worse, his frown or his breath. It was just, I was like, oh my gosh. So I began to explain the story of what happened. And he must have had a really bad morning. Things were just going wrong. And I wasn't the person he needed to be having a conversation with. So I said, you know, clearly there's a mistake here, and surely there's going to be some way that we can remedy this situation. I said, you know, it would be nice if, you know, he could just get, you know, his $19 and something change back just for the stamp. If you don't like the rules here, get out, is what he said to me. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I went Guido. I did not mean to. I don't know what happened to me. I just went, what do you mean, get out? And we got into this match, back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And I had one of those moments of Shirley MacLaine's Terms of Endearment moment. Give my daughter her medications. You remember that movie? Yeah. Screaming and hollering and carry on. And I turned around. And I said, does anyone here want to buy stamps? And these people raised their hands up, and I grabbed this young boy, and I went over there, and I got his money back for his stamps. Got his money back for his stamps. Now, the story doesn't end, okay? So he said, thank you so very much. He walked out the door, I got in my car, and I was like shaking, because this is not my behavior. It takes a lot. I have a very long fuse. Very long fuse.
There is such a thing as righteous anger.
Absolutely. And so I was sitting there in this car, and I was like, I was having my conversation with God, to these people that I was a nut kid. This just wasn't my best moments. I was just going back and forth, please forgive me, this is going on my behavior, back and forth. And I really felt bad about them because I could have handled that situation much better. There was a tap on the window. And it was the young boy. And I rolled the window down, and he said to me, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Merry Christmas to you. And he walked away, and he had tears in his eyes, and I got very emotional. I had tears in my eyes. There comes a point in time when you have to do the right thing because it is the right thing to do. And righteous anger, thank you very much. It absolutely was. Number 10. Get up, get out, get going. Why? So many of us, and I've had, the pleasure of working with so many different people this last year, clients, and I hear the same thing. I'm dealing with a girl right now who can't pay me. And she's been a wonderful client. She lost her job. Her husband left her. She's got 2 kids at Christmas time. Got it? These kids are 8 and 9. And I've been talking her out of the tree. You can do this, and there's always an email. It's a long email on how much she hates her life. And I understand where she's coming from. She's coming from a place of fear. We have to rise above that and see the truth of where she's coming from with that. Doesn't mean I judge it. Doesn't mean I'm going to share that with her. But in my own very loving, sweet way, I've got to get her to understand that, where there's conflict, there's going to be a miracle. Maybe this is, and she didn't like her boss. And her husband, she stayed in her marriage with a man that wasn't kind to her. He beat her. So you see what I'm saying? So let's take a look at the real issue here. Maybe God, universe, spirit, is trying to get you to the next peak, to the next level. Let's take a look at that. So, no matter what's happening in your life, get up, get out, and get going. You'd be surprised what awaits you. Number 11. I love this story. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have an opportunity. It's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not have an opportunity than have an opportunity and not be prepared. There was a young man that came to me for those who in my industry know this side of the industry. I was an agent for a while. I ran the beauty division of Wilhelmina, Page Mark's empire. And part of my job responsibility was to get beautiful men and women on the cover of Shape magazine or Men's Fitness. And I had a young boy from Oklahoma, he was just a good old boy named Drew Waters, who wanted to be on the cover of Men's Fitness magazine. That was his all-time goal in life. This is what he wanted to do. And in our industry, there's a thing called cover try. And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're guaranteed to get the cover of one of these magazines, but if you do get the cover, your career is launched. And you go on to what we call great green pastures, right? So we tried and tried and tried. And at that time, the Eurasian was the popular trend. African Americans were the popular trend. Latinos were the popular trend. Drew was blonde, all-American guy. No, they said, over and over and over. And Drew never lost faith. He said, Peter, I just see it happening. I know it's going to happen. And I said, well, Drew, every time I turn around, we keep getting no's. And he said, you know what? I have faith in God. I have faith in you. And I see it happening. And we went over this for 2 years. He went to the gym. He never lost his faith. He never, had this poor, pitiful party for Drew. He believed it to be. And guess what? I got that phone call during the Christmas holidays from the art director. The man that showed up for our shoot is pudgy. He's doughy. We can't use him. That's what they said. And I was like, so we've called all the agents' phone lines during the Christmas holidays, and you're the only one that left their home telephone number. So guess who I had to call? I had to call Drew Waters. And I said, guess what? Men's Fitness Magazine has called you, and they want you to fly out to Los Angeles, and they want to do a cover try with you. And I said, unfortunately, they're not going to pay for airfare. That's okay, don't worry about it, I'll take care of that. I've got miles. And Drew, they want you to be ripped and cut up for the cover. Well, that's okay, Peter, I'm already dehydrated. Guys, they dehydrate their bodies for the covers, is what I'm saying. And in Drew, they're shooting at 6 a.m. in the ghetto of Los Angeles. I said, they've given me directions, Drew, I have no idea where you're going. There were so many obstacles before Drew Waters. And he made every one of those obstacles into gold mines. He showed up. He did his job. Christmas Eve, I got a phone call. He booked the cover. They only paid him $150 for that cover. Well, that's editorial rate. That's good. You know that. Editorial rate. He came out and made the January cover. Now, when you make the January cover, I want you, when January comes out, I want you to look at all the magazines. I want you to look at all these models who are on the cover. January is the #1 selling issue. Everybody looks at these issues. Health Magazine, Shape Magazine, Men's Fitness, all these magazines. Vogue, Glamour, Mademoiselle, Town and Country. These are the covers. January is the #1 selling magazine. January is where all the money goes into all these magazine covers. And careers are launched. This young boy's career launched because of that. He never doubted. He never had a sad moment in his life about, he just knew. So have faith. You know, it may not happen tomorrow. It may not happen the next day. It may not even happen 2 years. But if you believe in your heart that you're destined for something great, it will take place. I've seen it over and over and over. The actors, the models, the ministers that I have had the chance to work with, it just shows up. And number 12, learn when to say no. Learn when to say no. Now, why do you think that is so important?
Because getting to know can be a real challenge for many of us. And in our culture, we're not supposed to say no. We're supposed to say yes, 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 yes,
Absolutely.
yes, yes.
But no, when you say no sometimes, it empowers.
Empowers you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yes.
It also saves the universe the time, effort, and pain of searching 180 degrees in the wrong direction. It's the most loving word you can say to somebody.
Absolutely. You know
You
what?
save half their time of gold.
I deserve better comes by saying no. If you're in a sour relationship, like an example, my client in Connecticut. You know, it's time to say no to this relationship. Say no. Set that boundary. You know, if you have a boss, and I was dealing with one this last Friday, that wasn't kind to her employees. You know, these employees left her because they weren't being kind, or she wasn't being kind. They decided after 5 years, and some of these others were 10 years, to up and go. You know, there comes a point in time when you do have to say no. And I learned something that was wonderful. She said, you know, if there's a very delicate area and you really want to say no, and you really want to get across, and they keep asking you to do it, what you say is, no thank you. No thank you. No thank you. 3 times. It changes consciousness very quickly. The number 3. You know, I spoke about, you know, I do a soul return every year. I go off to, I've been to London, Chichen Itza, Tulum, Hawaii, Sedona. I've been all over the world when I do my soul returns. And I got a call, and I was going to San Diego to Mount Zillidat to do my particular soul return that year. And I got a call from an assistant producer on November the 15th, my actual birthday. And she said, we're doing a show. And she said, you know, we've had a guest not show up, and we're calling you at the very last minute. Is there any way that you can do our show today? And so I was like, well, I had out-of-town company, and I said, well, let me ask. So I asked both my friends, I said, well, I've been asked to do a talk show. They want me to go on. And they said, what show is it? And I told them, he goes, oh. Now, I don't watch daytime television. That's just not my thing. So, you know, and here I go back to, you know, when my friends say no, I say yes. That's just me, okay? So anyway, I said, okay, you guys, we're going to go do a talk show, and you'll be my guest, and you'll just sit in the audience, right? Okay. Now, when I arrived, I didn't know that there were shows called Jerry Springer until much later.
Oh, my gosh. Oh,
Hi, Jerry Springer.
oh,
So sorry.
oh, my.
Well, this is the show very similar. The Sal and Jesse Raphaels, I learned after the fact, all these ruckuses that go up on stage, right? And this particular show was about the circus acts of the supernatural world. I didn't know that. They didn't tell me that. So anyway, on the show, as I'm sitting in the green room, they're introducing all their wonderful guests. There was a man who slept in a coffin. There was a woman who actually slept on graves and communicated with the dead. There was a snake handler, and then there was me with the near-death experience and the numerologist. So I'm walking out, and I remember walking out, because normally, when you're doing a live talk show, the audience is just, they're very polite, they're very gracious, and not this audience. No. This was ruckus. This was ruckus. And I saw the audience and thought, what is going on here? And then, I had the last scene and I sat down, and they were all doing the show, and there was this woman next to me who had giant snakes. She had an albino snake, python. And as she's talking, she was talking about that she was so connected to her snakes. And I'm thinking to myself, these snakes are wrapping around my leg. One snake crawled up on my shoulder. And I said, I don't think these snakes are connected to you. I think they're connected to me. And the host, I won't tell you who it is, started speaking to me. And what came before was I was so ill-prepared for this talk show. But it was test the psychic, test the psychic, test the psychic. And she began to ask me questions about, so if you're so psychic, how come you haven't won the lotto? That kind of question, right? Over and over. And I was just stunned because the snake was crawling all over my body. And I couldn't really answer what was going on here, right? I was afraid. Lions and tigers and bears and snakes, oh my. I just don't like snakes. And all of a sudden, I didn't realize I was failing according to the segment producers because I was so shocked by the snakes. And she kept asking these questions over and over, and before I could answer her, she'd ask another question. And they brought her a clown. A clown. Dressed in the whole attire. The nose, everything. The red hair, everything. The big shoes, everything. And she'd ask me a question, and he would do all these funny things, and the audience would laugh, so the laughter kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And I couldn't overtalk and answer her correctly.
Oh, no.
And finally she said to me, if you're so psychic, tell me what I'm thinking right now. And the audience began to jeer and boo, and it was humiliating for me. I sunk in my chair on my birthday, November the 15th. And then I had one of those psychic flashes. I knew exactly at that moment what she was thinking. And I said to myself, no, I'm not going to lie to you. After what she had put me through, I thought, I would love Cheryl here and sing right now, but I better not. And she did this and this, and she stormed away from the audience. And they cut. They called me aside. I went to the green room. Here comes Papa and Mama mad at Peter. They screamed at me. The second producer, you are the worst guest we've ever had on our show, ever. The exec producer came up to me, you're not a psychic, are you? They proceeded to yell and scream and I didn't even know what to say. And I thought, Peter, you need to get calm. You need to get centered. You need to not let this bother you. And I could see the host with this smirk on her face as they began to do her dirty work. And so I called the exec producer aside and I said, you can tell blah, blah, blah that her show will be canceled in 6 months. You can tell your host that she needs to get in recovery. And you can tell your host that she needs to come out of the closet. And the exec producer looked at me, and the host, eyes just popped. 6 months later, her show was canceled. 6 months later, she came out of the closet. 6 months later, her career plummeted. Now, I didn't do that out of vengeance. I did this because I felt, you know what, you guys have basically had a payday with me.
Well, she asked you and you answered.
And I did answer.
And you want to buy a stamp?
Southern gentleman way. Why?
And you,
She will, well, she needs to come out of the closet. You know, it wasn't, but you know, there comes a point in time when that boundary's been crossed. And the lesson for me was, sometimes you have to say no to the circumstances around you. You just have to. And that's what happened. It was a great lesson because you see, what happens every November, I get the phone calls and everybody wants me to do something for free. And I have learned from that one show that when November the 11th comes around, I go back to that moment in my history and I say, this is my time with God. I will go to wherever I must go, and I spend from 11:11 until 11:29 having my conversations with God. And that was a great lesson for me. And you know, it was a wonderful lesson for me. So I've given you some tidbits of information. You know, go out and be leaders. You know, be curious in your neighborhood. You know, use your inner voice. Let it guide you. You know, do your inventory, whatever that inventory is, and do a thorough inventory. You've heard that mentioned, I'm sure, in AA. Do a thorough inventory. It doesn't mean that you criticize yourself. Be real about it. You know, this is where I'm not having, you know, an area I've called a shiny moment. And I need to work on that, whatever that might be. But work on that. 5. You know, the stranger. There isn't a day that goes by, whether it's at CVS or Walmart, or take my dog on a walk, that I don't talk to somebody. It is my goal, my job, my spiritual intention to find a stranger that I can connect with and share conversation with. Number 6, be a part of that community and build it because they will come, right?
Yes.
Number 7, be connected to God, however perceive God to be, and do your homework with that. Read, 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 read. Number 8, gratitude and abundance. Number 9, what was number 9? Compassion. 10, get up, get out, get going. 11. What's number 11, you guys? Remember? It's better to be prepared for an opportunity.
Opportunity loves a prepared mind.
Absolutely. And learn to say no. Honor yourselves, okay? Thank you, thank you, thank you. What I'd like to do before we end here, if at all possible, you know, I have to say this, and this is going to be my last lecture for Interfaith for a while. I have to finish my second book. I've made a commitment to God. Too many people are calling me and saying, you need to finish this book. We need it out. You know, and I have to share this with you, you guys, and this is because you're my family. I've had so many no's this past year regarding the screenplay, the script that I have turned in. You know, ABC is still holds it. MGN said no. But I have 2 wonderful female producers that on my birthday showed up. And I sent the script to them. And I have to show you, and you can, they're now pitching this to an Academy Award-winning screenplay writer. They said, we love your story. Your script is amazing. Your dialogue is spot on. But you need someone with experience who can look into this very compelling story and make it a compelling story on the big screen. And so I'm now in the middle of negotiation. So what that means is that I have to kind of bow out for a moment or two, work on the book and get it out due to timing, you know, work on this reality show and hope it goes to network, and work on this screenplay, this manuscript, and get it going. So, in parting, December the 17th, which was last night, until Easter Sunday, the 16 vibration in numerology in the tarot is in effect. So what I'm going to ask you to do is simply this. Whatever lessons you experienced last year, whether it was betrayal, financial hardship, losing your job. For me, I lost 7 dear friends back to back. 7 weeks. They died on Monday. I found out on Tuesday. I just lost another dear friend. gun violence. Shot in the head 7 times. This young 29-year-old boy that I helped get a job. I met his family, 5 brothers. He said I was his hero because I gave him a chance. I walked up to him, I knew I worked part-time at a club, and I went in to Mark, my boss, and I said, this young boy would like to be a trainer. He did all the certifications, became a trainer, built a clientele. This past June, his mother died in his arms of cancer. He loved his mother dearly. And then, several weeks ago, he was killed. It was very difficult for me to say goodbye to this young boy, because he meant the world to me. So I know what it's like to lose. I lost 7 friends this past year that, you do the very best. You just do the very best. When people say goodbye to you, I say thank you for those moments that you spent with me. That's what matters to me. That means the world to me. And if someone betrayed you, I made a phone call to someone this last year that, they crossed a boundary. And I made that phone call and I said, I'm so sorry that we are where we are today, but I thank you because you've been amazing the last 5 years of my life. I wish you the very best. Take that step. Take that step. Any questions before I let you guys go? Anyone? Anyone dealing with any poverty issues? Anyone dealing with loss? Anyone dealing with, yes?
What was the first book that you wrote?
Keymaster. I only have 4 left. Of all my lectures, I only have 4
How
left.
much was
I have to
it
order.
to buy them then? Because you.
You go to Amazon.
But didn't you bring some this?
I have 4 tonight. That's all I have left. I have a book order on the way. But I want you to know, I won my lawsuit here, Good Friday 2011. I lost every review due to the old publisher. That was just a part of the balancing act. But I want you to know I have 23, 24 5-star ratings on Amazon right now. The book sells. The book sells. It's a Christmas story. For those who've read it, it's a wonderful story. It will be turned into a movie.
Amen.
That you have my word on.
Good.
It is. That's what the director said. An amazing movie. I haven't done it yet. You know why? Because I don't want to know. Because when I did the research on Keymasters, you know what it means? Keymasters were the oracles of the 1500s. And they tapped into your soul, and they were able to unlock the doors in cosmic reference, and they guided you to your path. No, I won't. And the director said, this is amazing. So, anyone, get me now while you're here. When I see you next time, I will come with you with my new book. That's my promise.
So there is again time.
Yes, I'm just on hiatus, as we say, right?
Yes.
Hiatus. Yes.
Can I get a stamp?
Did you stamp the post office?
You know what? Yes. I bought the stamps from this young boy from Sweden. Yes.
If we go on Amazon, I bought my book from you.
Go to Amazon. It's Keymaster by PeterAnthony.
Write something nice and click like, or?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
The producers read these reviews, believe it or not. The people that are in my life today, on my birthday, happen to read the reviews. They all came down. Even a director, Sean Connery's son, Jason Connery, read my book, loved it. He said, you know what? I can see Brussels. My father would love this. I have worked on this since 1998. No. I had one producer this past year in August said, you know what? This is not going to sell. We're still in vampires and lichens and werewolves and zombies now.
Oh
And
my.
it's better to be prepared for an opportunity to not have one than to have an opportunity to not be prepared. I will be prepared. What's your question?
Are there several young speakers as well, professional, basically, in general?
Young people, you know what I did? I began to speak to children years ago. That's where I started with children. I have all these thank you from little boys and girls who used to send me thank you letters, Christmas cards. I used to travel with Model Search America and Pro Scout, for those of you who know that. And I was always a keynote speaker. And I just have always spoken from my heart. And I started meeting people that way. So, one step at a time. Look at Marion Williamson, you guys.
Yeah.
I was one of the 5 there at Santa Monica Beach, and look where she is today. I followed her from Santa Monica to Harmony to Via Bell to look at where she is. And I love what she's doing here. She feels the same way. Human rights. Human rights. That is important to her. And you guys get out and vote this midterm election. It is important.
You can volunteer too. You can show up at Rose Street and volunteer.
16-7, we can go into greatness with a new, wonderful female president if we think about that. We need that. Feminine consciousness has to be the part of this next 8 years of our consciousness. And then we will make the progress that we're supposed to make. What's your next question? Anyone? Yes?
I have a question with some of the people that you don't know. I mean, how do you have a conversation with some of the people you don't know?
You know what? This was a good example. We were filming this reality show, and we had a confrontation with somebody, and she was not a very nice person, and the director was working was just appalled by her behavior. And right after that, this woman just came right up to me and just said, I saw you guys were filming, and we engaged in a conversation. You know what? I have a dog. I walk my dog in the park. People come up and talk to me. I take the time. And every day, I'm grateful for that conversation I had with the person the day before. And I have a wonderful conversation with, you know what? I learned in therapy a long time ago, part of my therapy of many dysfunctional relationships was, she said, what you're going to do is you're going to get in an elevator, in a crowded elevator, and as you're going up, you're going to turn around and have a conversation with people in the elevator. Because, please don't let me do it, I don't want to do it. It was the most empowering thing that I ever did. When I get off the elevator, it's so nice to meet you, Peter, please come back, where are you? Do you have a card? Take the time. So, do it. You know what? You never know who you're going to meet. You never know who you're going to meet. I met Brussels that way. Take the time to have a conversation. You never know when an angel's going to show up. Yes?
I'm a firm believer, as you are, that out of all conflict arises miracle. Without a doubt. But what do you do, what practice do you do that you would recommend or advise to not become a chaser or creator of conflict in order to receive the miracle?
It's very simple. You live in peace. Every day, today, I ask for peace. When I'm doing my gratitude walk, that's the first thing I do. I ask for peace. I ask for peace. Today, I ask for peace. Today, I ask for peace. Today, I ask for peace. And I mean that. When I end my night, tonight, I ask for peace. Tonight, I ask for peace. And you know what? It doesn't mean that conflict's not there. You know, my boss at the gym said, I don't know what it is with you. You always get these cantankerous people that just show up and all these things happen. But you have a magical way of just quieting them. You kind of just put out the fire there. And I don't know why. You know what? I don't get involved in their drama. They have something to scream about. I step back and let them scream. And then I have something to say. That's it. And then you know what? Our job is to be centered as much as we can, but not let them cross the boundary. It's real simple. So what I do, go to peace, go to peace, go to peace, and watch what happens. You'll start seeing people will come to you and want to know what you, because you see what it is, it's nothing but light, right here in the solar plexus. The light comes out this way. And people are drawn to light. And so they will just come to you. People come to me all the time. My boss at the gym says the same thing. People come and say to you the most strangest things. The director said the same thing. These people, we're filming, these people just come right up to you, start talking, and they share their lives. Hi, blah, blah, blah. My boyfriend left me, my girlfriend did this, and they, I don't know why they do. They feel that they can share their information with me, and I make them feel safe because what they share with me stays there. Down and down. Next question. Surely. Go ahead. Poverty conscious. Anyone dealing with poverty issues here? Yes. What are you going through? And the reason why I asked this question, because we are headed towards some very challenging times. And so how do you get out of this poverty that the country is in, unfortunately?
I call it my mosaic period, the shattered glass, and building a new mosaic. And my issue is my relationship with the universe as an instrument and waiting for those divine moments to pass forward into prosperity rather than chasing prosperity without divinity.
Don't chase it. You don't have to chase anything.
It's sad. So
let it come to you.
Mine is
the miracle will show.
Patience.
You're already in prosperity.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already, you know, and so I said, and gratitude. You guys, I can't tell you
Yes,
enough.
yes,
It
yes.
starts with gratitude.
Yes.
You have to begin with gratitude. You know, go home tonight and ask yourselves, what am I most grateful for this last year, 2013? Anyone on Facebook? Okay. Have you seen the 2013 highlights
Yes.
of your moments in Facebook?
Yes.
I was amazed. Boy, I thought, this is great. It was part of my gratitude walk today.
I haven't seen that.
It's amazing, just, and it's
It's
like,
on
this,
your timeline.
on your timeline, it goes
Online?
2013, these
Everyone
are
got it.
your famous, these great moments of 2013 in your timeline.
I have to
It
look.
should tell you everything about your year. Don't you love it?
Love it.
I just started playing on it.
Yeah. Poverty consciousness. So, you know what? Let's not look about what they say. Let's look about what we know in our heart.
And we take ourselves out of the law of averages and place ourselves within the law of individual selection, above that consciousness.
Amen.
Absolutely. Above that consciousness. Above that consciousness.
Thank you.
That is where we need to be.
Absolutely.
Paper's never defined my abundance, so I could really care less about the dollar sign.
I don't care about the dollar, but you want to know something? What I do care about? Checks in the mail, checks in the mail, checks in the mail, checks in the mail. I visualize my day, I visualize my, you know, I just had a producer tell me, this is just amazing to me. She's given me she said, I can give you 20 reasons why this movie won't work. And I said, I can give you 20 reasons why it will. She said, well, I'm a realist, and so am I. And I said, all you have to do is go to my Amazon and read 23 reasons why this book will sell. From Tennessee to Oklahoma to New York City to Connecticut to Washington, D.C. to Brazil. And you can read, I didn't solicit these reviews, they're all coming to me. They have taken the time to read this book, and in their heart, they are connected to these characters. They're real people. There's an angel in here. This is an near-death experience. And they're telling me near-death experiences won't sell. I said, really? Watch what happens. Watch what happens. And I said, it may not sell 2013, and it may not sell 2014, but I can guarantee you, we said back home in Texas, it's going to sell in 2015 and 2016, and it will be 4 maybe.
Well, Hereafter was one of the,
Thank you very much.
yes.
Wow.
You know, now, but here's the backstory of that. Clint Eastwood had to